we have. Obviously, when you hear the amount of pros and the amount of locations and the size of this investigation area, it has allowed us and afforded us the opportunity to present something like this to the water board, specifically Jessica Law. Just because we do it here doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to do it at your site. But one of the things that we benefit from continuously on this project is what I call the off-ramps that this tremendous data set has provided us. And so we've worked with the water board and the responsible party closely to help foster and develop those off-ramps. So it's been very productive. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
This one?
All right. That brings us to our final presentation today. And the man is in the house. So let me call up the assistants. I assume the assistants want to be up here. Okay, I think we're about ready. All right.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is Blaine Hartman, and you can see he's got his accompanying group with him. And I dare say, would anybody raise their hand in the audience if they've ever given a presentation or attended another presentation that included accompanying live music, a technical session? Okay, seeing no hands, I suspect yes, this is unique. And I just want to remind you, and you've heard Blaine's name called a number of times today, and there's a good reason. Blaine has, let me just say, extensive experience in the topic of vapor intrusion. Blaine and I go back to Unical days when he was a young buck, and we actually went out in the field very early on. So we go a long ways back with vapor intrusion and field experience and field sampling. And Blaine's parlayed that into a number of companies he's owned and run. And he's also, as many of you know, has done an extensive amount of training in a variety of topics, including soil gas methods and vapor intrusion, to countless numbers of counties, state regulatory agencies, DOD, etc., and also a number of oil companies, turf groups, etc. He's made a career out of training and implementing the methods and continuous improvement, I might add. And also, as you can tell from this presentation, where he's broken ground again by integrating music into the presentation, and I gotta tell you, it takes a lot of work behind the scenes to do this. If any of you want to try it, I suggest you talk to Blaine before you say, hey, that was a great presentation, I think I'm going to give that a try. Talk to him before you agree to do that, because I can tell you, that's a lot of work. Are you done? Not quite. I told you to take a flowery introduction. I just want to end by saying that Blaine has put the fun into dysfunctional presentations and interactions. I give you our speaker, F. Blaine Hartman.
Okay, let's rock and roll.
I got to put your presentation up.
Oh, thank you.
I got so warmed up in the introduction.
All right, couple things before we get going. One is there will be no time for questions guaranteed. So if you have questions, if you really do, we'll be in to make sure we have the room to feel free to ask. Okay? That was number one. What was number two? Number two, we have, like last year, we had 7 band members, 4 of which are singers, 3 of which are guitarists. Same musicians last year. Mark, Gabe, and Paulo, there's our musicians, and Laura and Susie, and Clint, last year, actually the three of them have been here many times, and this year, we have a special guest. That is Casey Hartman-Renner. My daughter.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, the last thing is, we're actually trying some new material today, and we'll see how we do in rehearsal, which we've had all 2 rehearsals, so we're kind of a new startup. So let's get going. So I'm going to talk to you about continuous monitoring. Am I too loud? Okay. Turns out I've been doing continuous monitoring for a long time, and actually it turns out that I gave my first presentation on this topic way back in 2004. And in case you don't believe me, I actually found the title slide from that presentation, and you'll see what I was affiliated with at that time. Chemistry. I know the other thing I would tell you. The other thing we're doing different from last year is the lyrics for these songs are going to be on the screen. So we encourage all of you, if you want to jump into the song, especially the refrains, you'll probably know all the choruses to the song. Feel free. All right, history. First presentation. Then from about 2004 to 2015, I was doing continuous monitoring, but it was just myself with my instruments. I didn't have any ability to get the data up to the web and to view the data in real time. So while I was doing continuous monitoring, it was kind of clunky because it wasn't really for real time. In 2016, it's 10 years ago actually, this spring, I met Mark Cram, we groundswell. He says, oh yeah, I can get that data up to the web, and I can actually have graphics in real time. So that's what really brought continuous monitoring, I'd say, into a very usable service, a very usable tool, which I'm going to show you a lot of examples. So, since 2016, about 225 projects, roughly, continuous monitoring projects, and we've done a ton of discrete sample projects. Mostly active, Robbie was talking about continuous vectors, mostly different types of buildings, mostly active commercial structures, some vacant, a lot easier when it's vacant. And we've done houses, we've done trailers, we've done schools, and all kinds of weird things like that. Climate data, we always get climate for like the nearest airport, sometimes the weather station, and then sometimes differential pressure, which we really recommend almost at all sites. So that's the history there. We have the largest monitoring base, continuous monitoring base of anybody on the planet. So we've done it a few times, and real live instant data in real time is key. All right, you've heard me talk about this before. I call it the lack of data problem. And that is when you go out with these, well, I'm going to call both of these traditional. And when you go out with these traditional samplers, that's what you get from the room that you sampled. And that's all you get. And so there's your screening level. So what happens when you get that number? What do you do? All of you have done this. You're going to go back. In fact, even if it's below the screening level, most agencies want you to go at least 2 times. You're going back, right? So now you go back, you get that. Now what do? You go back again. And then it gets that, right? Now what do? And months and years later, we've been in a lot of job sites that have been doing this for years. Over and over. Very few consultants, global time. But for you responsible parties, nah. So I call this the lack of data problem. There is what you get after, say, a time integrated sample of 7 days. That's the average of data I'm going to show you in the next slide of a real site that we did continuous monitoring. That's the time integrated, or the average of the 7 days. That's what was going on. It's all about having enough data. fun. Earplugs. Yeah, if you want earplugs, here you go. All right. How many data points do you get from traditional methods versus with a monitor? Okay, so let's say you're doing a job of 8 rooms for 24 hours, right? 24 hours. How many data points are you going to get out of after 24 hours in those 8 rooms? Somebody. 8. There you go. Earplugs for that. Okay, so there you go. 1 data point per room. What's that going to cost? Roughly, just for the TO15 analysis, about $300 a pop. I think something like that, right? So $2,400 for 8 data points, right? Okay, continuous monitoring. And that same 24 hours, I'm going to get you about 160 analyses. Divide by 8, you're going to get 20 analyses per room. Okay, a lot more information that you can use a lot of that. Now look at the cost. Now, is Henry Schubert here? No, right? He needs to be here because apparently he said the other day, this is too expensive. It's not that expensive. Now Megan pointed out to me, well, you didn't put travel costs in there, and she's right, right? That neither. But what did I just say earlier? If you use this method, you're definitely going back. They require 2 sampling rounds, even if it's non-stacked. Okay? And if you get a hit, you don't know where it came from. Did it come from indoors or below? You have no opportunity to figure that out. With a pattern, you do, okay? So you're definitely going back. So now what we do is we double that 2,400. So now look at the cost of using those methods. At the cost of that, even if you put travel expense in there, this tool is not more expensive. And if it is, when I scope it out with someone, I say, well, do it the other way if you want. Fine. So, one of the biggest misconceptions out there is that this is too expensive a tool to use. All right. What do the agencies think about this service or tool? The EPA, as you know, back in 2023, right here, they came out and said canisters are really, they kind of trash talk canisters, really. Right? False negatives, poor characterization. This is their text. It's not my text. 1 to 4 rounds is rarely ideal. I just put the red color. And then how about some better tools are well established? There we are. So that's EPA. ITRC just came out with their new guidance, right? Just came out, right? 17 pages on monitoring with different, not necessarily just my instrument, but monitoring in general, so other instruments also. It's a very, very thorough treatment in that recent guidance. There's from NAVFAC, from the Navy, DOD. And if your eyes are good, how can it help? Determine if a VI issue is present. In other words, determine indoors versus below. Locate preferential pathways. Identify driving factors. Okay? Differentiate VI from indoor sources from below. So there it is. And our friend Jessica Law, who I think is in here, she's been talking about this tool for a long time. This is her slide from 2002. She uses the term an essential tool, see, so I highlighted that for you. So I want to focus now on the essential tool and what it can do that the traditional methods can't do. So that's what I'm going to talk about for the rest of this talk. And I'm going to go through these and show you data for each of the bullet points. That's what's coming. So find vapor points, entry points, okay? Identify factors controlling the indoor air. In other words, I'll get to that. Like for example, barometric pressure or people, whatever, okay? Distinguish indoor versus subsurface source. We've been very successful, not in all cases, but in many, many cases of going in there within 2 or 3 days saying, it's not from below, it's from inside. And you don't have to go back. You're done. I'll show you examples of that. More accurate risk determination. You'll assume it's you, Robbie. And everybody, I think. And here we are, attenuation factor. Testing of remedies in real time. So I'm going to go through all those if I have enough time, that is. And we can monitor remediation systems also. So there you go, those bullet points. finding VOC entry points. You got to understand, vapors are going to go their own way. This is just too much fun. No, I think this is the last time I'm doing this. Okay. No, it's not. Okay, so here's the case. We did discrete for a day. Wasn't really sure where it was coming from, so we said, okay, let's go to monitor mode, close the doors up, and look what happens. As overnight, we said, hey, the machine's going to be overnight. We're going to come back tomorrow. Let's let it run overnight. Okay, so it runs overnight, and off we go. And they came in, the consultant came in next day, opened the door up, boop, and closed the door back up. So we found this is a very effective way to find out where the VOC entry points are in a structure. So here's another one. 4 rooms in it was I think, 2-bedroom condo, something like that. 4 rooms. You see the 2 middle rooms, you don't see any increase over time. We had done discrete sampling all day. Didn't really see any variation because the HVAC mixes the air up, so everything was homogenized. Go at night, turn off the HVAC, and look what happened. 2 rooms, that's what happened overnight. There were 2 bathrooms side by side. Turns out they had a leak in the drain pipe in the wall. So there's the power of combining discrete and monitoring to find VOC entry points. We're very, very successful with that. The factors affecting indoor air concentrations, I've talked about this before. The number 1 factor is people. People, what they are doing and what they're using. Number 2, HVAC system. Is it on? Is it off? What's the makeup air ratio? Is it working right? Number 3 will be sub-foundation cross-slab pressure. Okay? Now we call it differential pressure, or DP. When it's more positive underneath, we call that positive. So differential pressure, and then the climatic variables. We've talked about this for years. Barometric pressure, when we see drops, Mark talked about it this morning, we see when it's coming from below, when vapor intrusion is the source. When barometric pressure drops, concentrations go up. I'm going to show you examples of this with real data. All right. You get enough data with monitoring that you can look for these effects. Which of these variables are controlling things? Again, very hard to do, almost impossible with traditional methods. So here's an example here, data. Left to right's time. 2 rooms, PCE, barometric pressure, differential pressure. Look in the box here. Down goes the barometric pressure. Up goes the differential pressure. Meaning, when the differential pressure is positive, that means the first floor is under pressure. Oh, thank you.
Pressure pushing down on me, pushing down on you. No man asked for. Under pressure, all those papers inside, put some family into
All right, distinguish an indoor versus a vapor intrusion source. This is a very interesting site here. This is in Santa Barbara, Roby. This is part of the shell study. By the way, we showed this last year, and Matt Lavis was involved in this. Look at this inside the boxes. I thought I had shaded this, but I didn't. Here, inside the boxes, you see these are two units in strip mall, F and E, and you can see concentrations going up with PERC. That's when DP is positive, there's the barometric pressure dropping. Everything was fine. And then you see it again here, and then you see it again here. So everything I've been telling you, barometric pressure drops, slab is overpressured, first one under pressure, vapors come in. But look at this. At unit F, we had high hits when there wasn't any barometric pressure drop and no differential pressure. And they didn't see it in unit E, the increases. Look at that. So that told us right there that F not only had a vapor intrusion component or source, it also had an indoor source. Can't do this with the other two. It's pretty powerful stuff. All right, this is a job we did recently you haven't seen this before. There was a factory and they had a vapor degreaser, a PERC vapor degreezer. And they were worried about why they were getting indoor air hits. Well, probably because the vapor degreaser is, right, has PERC in it. Well, anyways, Quint went out there and sure enough, there was all kinds of air contamination. So what we did was we ran it, and then we had them turn off the vapor degreeser overnight. They let us do it for what, 10 hours, 12 hours, something like that. And so we turned off vapor degreeser off. Look what happened to the concentrations. There was 4 different rooms in this big building. Down they dropped. And then in the morning they had to turn it back on and everything goes back up. So that told us right there, which we kind of predicted, that the vapor degreaser was definitely a major contributor, the major contributor to the indoor air. These are the types of things that we can do when you have enough data. All right, now risk. Improved risk. What do I mean by this? You can calculate over different time periods. So you put out a canister at a school. Well, the kids are only there 8 hours. The workers might be there 10 or 12. All right. So you what happens when you put a can? How do you put it out for 8 hours and 10 hours? And sometimes we're asked to do it 24 hours anyway. How do you do that? You'd have to put out multiple canisters, right? So it's not easy to do that, but we can parse our data set. We can chop it into the time periods. So if we monitor for 24 hours, we can look at the 8 hours when the kids are there, or the 12 hours when the staff's there. See, we have the ability to do that stuff, all right? We can evaluate with differential pressure when it's positive. That's worst case conditions. So by having monitoring data, continuous monitoring, and differential pressure, we're then able to look at the periods where differential pressure is positive and say that's the worst case conditions. All right? Now, this is a big one. I'm going to focus on this. We can identify spurious hits and eliminate those. Robbie, do you remember the spurious hit Texas Instruments?
Sharing it with your son.
Yeah. I was having a drink with my daughter who was visiting. Robbie calls me up. What's going on down there? Remember that? Yeah.
No, you called me what's going on down there, and I called the plant. You called me.
We need to have a conversation. as Megan Hamilton would say to me. Okay, let me show you what I mean by this. This is really important for you. It really is. And I really haven't talked about it this way before. So here's with the vapor intrusion on, meaning differential pressure is positive. And when it's off, meaning differential pressure is not. So okay, so PERC, 2 locations, BP. I actually showed you this slide before. See the positive hits of PERC? BP's dropping, right? I showed you this for positive DP, okay? And between those, when the DP is not positive, here, that's when essentially vapor intrusion is off. So we have the ability to parse the data like this. And you can't do this with traditional tools. Now, if the highest values up there are below screening level at maximum DP, do you have a case to say we don't need to go back? I think so. Think about that. All right, liquor store. Store opens at 8 in the morning or something like that, and then it closes at midnight. So when the store closes at midnight or whatever, every time up goes the perk values. But when it's open, of course, people come in.